What is up, Unleashed Omaha fans? Jamie back again, back training, doing the thing. Doing another video today. I got my trusted sidekicks, Nico and Dakota, hanging out in the background, along with Mr. Olaf, who we're going to do some work with today. Olaf has been already conditioned to our marker word, which is yes, meaning you have done something correctly and now you are going to be rewarded for it. So today we're just going to teach sit. Simple, right? Probably the most trained command in the dog training world. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, my dog knows how to sit. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Well, kind of. My dog knows how to sit when there's no people, there's no dogs, there's no food, there's no nothing. And even when a door opens, my dog is no longer sitting. So this video is to explain the steps we take to train sit, the distraction phases that we go through, using food, using toy, and then eventually bringing in additional conflict of other people, kids, dogs, toys, food, whatever, and relaying the fact that sit means butt on the ground until you are either released with the word yes, or you are given another command to down, to stand, to place, to come into heel, let's go, whatever, or break, which means go back to being a dog, do your thing, and I don't really care what you're doing right now. You can just go and do your thing. So the biggest thing is getting our dogs to focus on us, to focus on the work. So there's, just like you or me, there's time for work and there's time for play. So when we don't need our dogs for a specific task, or we're in a backyard with lots of people and we're just enjoying the day, and our dog has gone through the whole entire training process, they know not to pick up food from strangers, from the ground, they know not to get into stuff, they know to remain calm around people, not to jump on people, things like that. And we've taken them through all the loops and swoops and all the craziness of training, and they are well generalized and understand. Then they can be off leash and they can be dogs. Until then, manage your dogs. Manage, and use that opportunity to not allow your dogs to go out and find poor behaviors to rehearse. So the biggest thing is, I'm not a fun Nazi as far as dogs. I love when dogs can just be dogs. I love it. But we live in a domesticated world. You cannot just pee and poop everywhere you please. You cannot jump on every single person. You cannot play bite with kids and people and other dogs. Like, you need to remain in a state that we can live with as owners. And until I've taken the time to show you how to do that, then your dog is on leash or a long line and goes where you go. So I'm just going to stop talking now. I'm just going to go right into training. This is going to be teaching the sit command. Classically conditioning, the upwards pressure means I want you to put your butt on the ground. I use the minimum amount of pressure to get them there, and then the moment that they are in the sit, I don't even say sit in the beginning. All I want to do is show them, when I pull up on the leash, put your butt on the ground. They put their butt on the ground, I mark it yes, I allow the dog to get up, wash, rinse, repeat. I continue on that. So I'm just going to go through the beginning stages of training sit. Let me know if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to see filmed, okay? Hold on. Come here. Hold on. No, relax. Nico, over here. Come on. Relax. So I simply start. I have my dog on a 6 foot leash, and I tell my dog, "Are you ready? Are you ready to work?" I'm prompting that. Hey, we're getting ready to work, and I need you to pay attention. So, Olaf, you ready? Yes. Good boy. I'll mark him a couple times. Give him a couple pieces of food. Good boy. Okay. Good. Simple kibble. Good boy. Okay. So when I am getting ready to do this work, in the beginning, it's not going to look super cool. It's not going to look amazing. We're teaching the dog something new. So whenever we learn something new, there is an element of a little bit of stress involved. So even when you are at work or whatever, in the beginning, you don't know what the heck certain things mean or how to do something. So you kind of get through it until you become proficient, and then it's easy. So I'm just going to use upwards pressure. He puts his butt on the ground. The moment that he puts his butt on the ground, I relinquish that pressure of the leash. I no longer have the pressure upwards, and I want to use the minimum amount of pressure. So when you see me pull up, I'm using that minimum amount of pressure that my dog starts to acknowledge. Kind of is like, okay, if you control the head, you control the butt. So a little bit of pressure upwards, wait. If the dog's like looking at you like, I don't know what you want, waiting, 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 a little bit more upwards pressure, and just keep that pressure constant. The second they put their butt on the ground, I mark it with my marker word, YES, and I allow the dog to get up and move, okay? So I'll have food in my hand, okay? Just plain kibble for the day. Yes. Good. Boy. Okay. That's one repetition. So I walk around with my dog. I come this way. Upwards pressure. Butt on the ground. This is where I want him. Yes. In the beginning, I don't care what the sit looks like. I just want the butt on the ground. Upwards pressure directly above the dog's head. Holding it constant. The moment that they sit, yes. I give the dog the marker word, yes, and then I move. So what I don't want you to do is hold the thing up like this. Okay, we're holding it, we're waiting him out. Okay. He puts his butt on the ground and you say, yes. If you are moving away and he is no longer in the sit position and you say the word yes and you're moving and he's no longer in that sit position, you are marking when he's moving with you. You're not marking the sit. So you need to have upwards pressure. He sits. You take the pressure away. Don't move yet. You say yes and then move. Okay? So it's very, very, very important that you say the word yes, then move. Okay? If you have upwards pressure, you hold him out. You let go of the pressure. If you say yes, okay, you're no longer marking that sit behavior. You're marking him coming with you. You're marking him coming with the leash. So it's very important. Upwards pressure. He sits. We relinquish that pressure with the leash. Notice there's a nice slack leash. I say yes, and then I move. Okay? Couple pieces of kibble. I always feed with both hands so that my dog doesn't start to anticipate where the reward is coming from. I always want to keep him guessing. So when you start this work, it's very important you teach sit in a variety of positions. Teaching sit on the side of you is different than teaching sit in front of you. Teaching sit on the right of you is also different. So teaching sit in multiple positions
starts to generalize the behavior that we're looking for is butt on the ground gets you food. Yes. Okay. Another thing to look for, sometimes dogs will hover. You want to make sure that butt is on the ground. Yes. Good boy. Okay. So I maybe shoot that dog out, bring him back into me. I pull up on the leash. He sits. Yes. And I release him. And then I'll pull the dog around. I'll pull the dog to my left-hand side. Upwards pressure. The dog sits. Yes. And I remove him from the position and feed him a couple times. Bring him around this way to my right-hand side. Upwards pressure. Off with the pressure. Yes. Good boy. Upwards pressure. Off with the pressure. Yes. Good. In the beginning, you can have food preloaded in your hands. So you see me, I dig in my pocket, I have my food ready. Upwards pressure. Yes. Grab another piece of food, come this way. Upwards pressure. Now I'm going directly above the dog's head, and I'm using the minimum amount of pressure necessary to get him into the sit. Yes. Good. And I'll just simply practice this. Yes. 20 to 40 times, 3 times a day. And you'll start to notice, yes, you'll start to notice that the amount of pressure that you need to get them to that position, yes, starts getting lighter and lighter. And typically after 150 position of sit, you start getting this, yes. And you start getting a dog who starts to offer the sit because he's like, why wouldn't I sit? Every time I sit, you give me a treat. Every single time. So once I've done 150 of these repetitions, I might start off the dog with a couple of upwards pressure. He sits. Yes. I move. I give him a couple pieces of food. Good job, buddy. Tell him he's good. Tell him he's a good boy. He's all dirty from all these leaves and stuff. Okay. I'll bring him past me and even with me. Upwards pressure. Go. So if he makes a mistake, a lot of the times dogs want to see your face. So they'll flip out. They'll turn their butt and flip their butt out so that they can square up with you and look up at you. If your dog repeatedly does this, use a barrier. So you can go up against like a wall. So say there was a wall right here, I walk up next to the wall with my dog, I apply upwards pressure, the dog sits next to me. Now he's learning to look up at my shoulder for the command. Nope. He's looking up at me. Maybe not right now, but he's kind of sniffing the ground. Yes. The more repetitions that I do, the more he's going to start focusing on me. The more that he's going to start looking up to me. So as my dog gets more proficient in this work, I will actually wait until he looks up at me when he's sitting. And then I'll mark that moment. And now I have a nice focused sit command. I do it on the left, I do it on the right, I do it in front of me, and I do this 3 times a day. And I'm not kidding you. Your sessions, 20 to 40 repetitions, 5 minutes. No more than 5 minutes. Just do the 5 minutes in the morning, afternoon, night, before bed. That's 20 minutes of your day. You do that for 4 days. Your dog, you'll barely even hold upwards pressure on the leash. You'll barely hold upwards pressure on the leash, and your dog will sit automatically. Okay? So that was a little new for him because he hasn't seen me crouch down. It's very important that you show your dog multiple pictures that upwards pressure means sit. Upwards pressure means sit. And then when they go, aha, upwards pressure means sit, then it gets lighter and lighter, and I barely have to even put it on there. And then my dog starts doing it automatically. Now I have something. Coda, relax. Hey, relax. Now I have a moment to where he's sitting. I can say the word sit, followed by yes. The dog sits. I say the word sit, yes. The dog sits for me. I say sit, yes. Pair that word together 50 to 100 times, and now my dog, I say sit, and the dog goes, oh, I got this, bam, foot on the ground, or butt on the ground, mark it, reward it. Once I have that, then I start bringing food out, placing food around, working around food. Then I work around with toys. Then I'll have a sit command, I'll ask him to sit for me, and I'll toss food a couple feet away. If he gets up to go get it, it's not a big deal. I just tell him, nope. Repeat the command, sit. I'll set it up again, I'll toss food or toy or whatever he finds motivating. If he breaks the position before he hears the word yes, I simply replace him back into the position. A few repetitions goes by, he realizes I never get released to the food or toy or whatever until I hear the word yes. Boom! Now you have a distraction, a higher level distraction that the dog starts to understand I can't get released until I hear the word. Then you bring in other people, you bring in a helper, you bring in multiple situations, you go to parks, you go out, you start working on a long line, you put your dog in a sit with a long line. You start walking 10, 15, 20 feet away and dropping food and dropping toys and dropping things like that. The dog doesn't move from the position. Cues on you, watching you, doesn't matter if food drops, toys drop, there's dogs around, whatever the situation, but on the ground till released. Then you do the same thing with taking your long line and moving out of sight. You come back, the dog is still sitting, mark him. Boom, now we have a good. You can also use the word good to tell them that they're doing what you want. So I have upwards pressure when I start working with duration. I tell them, good, feed him.